he was going, he refused to wear that as he was being hung. Another mystic chord, the last words. The enemy is so obsessed with the Jewish people, Satan is, that his servants are so obsessed. Hitler's last public words, his very last sentence publicly was, fight the Jewish people. The whole thing was against the Jews. His crony, Julius Streicher, died shouting, Purim. Joseph Stalin, the last meeting he ever had, he was plotting the destruction of the Jewish people, had a stroke, that was the end, or was poisoned, he died. Saddam Hussein stood at the gallows. Among the last words that he planned, of course we know that things went back and forth, but the planned statement was, just before the rope was around, he shouted, God is great, Allah, the nation will be victorious, and last, Palestine is Arab. In other words, his last words were about the Jewish people that he planned to say. In other words, what he's saying by Palestine is saying that all Israel, the Jews are to be destroyed and wiped off of Israel. That's what he's saying. His last planned words. There was a story told in the Second World War that Hitler went to a fortune teller to get a sign for his future, and finally she says to him, you're going to die on a Jewish holiday. He says, which one? She says, any day you die will be a Jewish holiday. Fascinating, because Hitler actually banned a Jewish holiday, and the holiday he banned from being celebrated was Purim. Saddam Hussein died, it was a holiday. It was a Muslim holiday. Just like Haman died on a holiday, he died on a Muslim holiday, and that Muslim holiday was called Eid ul-Adha, which is Abraham. They celebrate Abraham offering up Ishmael. And they say that Ishmael saved the last minute, and then Abraham offered up a sacrifice. So now it's significant, because obviously it's a twisted story of the original account, which is not Ishmael, it's Isaac. So interesting, he died when the people in the Muslim Islamic world were celebrating without realizing it. Who was Isaac? If Isaac died, that would be it for the Jewish people. All the Jewish people were in Isaac, but he was saved at the last minute. So what was that holiday? It was celebrating ultimately that the Jewish people are saved at the last minute. That's when Saddam Hussein died. So they hung Haman on the gallows he made for Mordecai. God, the hand of God, overturns the hand of evil against itself. The hand of Amalek brings about divine justice. The fingerprints of God are on it. You know, the place where he was judged the palace was called by the Camp Victory. And the place in which he was killed, its name is Camp Justice. And Moses built an altar and said, Jehovah Nissi, the Lord is my banner. He said, the Lord has sworn I will war against Amalek in every generation. 3,000 years ago, more than that, it was written, and here we are, 2007, and only 2 months from the last outworking of this incredible story. Right in our midst that has affected everything we are seeing in world events right now is affected by this is from Purim. 2 months ago, the brutal man of terror called the Butcher of Baghdad, who threatened the Jewish people, was overturned as Haman was. But the spirit of the enemy doesn't rest. When one goes, another rises. Saddam fled his throne. He left his throne. His reign ended when the Americans came in and the Allies came in. He left the throne on April 9, 2003. His reign ended. He fell from power April 2003. Went into hiding. In that same year, that very same month, events began to transpire nearby in the actual land of the city of Purim, Shushan, in that land of that. There was a man there, obscure, not at all known in his nation, but in that month, the month of the fall of Saddam Hussein, events began turning that would lift this obscure man to power, just as Haman was lifted up. The land was Persia, of Purim, now known as Iran. The man's name was Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. In the same month of Saddam's fall, he began his rise. He was lifted out of obscurity, and within 25 days of Saddam's fall, he became the mayor of Tehran, which marked Tehran, which marked the beginning of his rise. Within 2 years, this obscure man would become the president of Iran and would threaten again to bring nuclear power to Iran and to destroy the Jewish people off the map. The Lord has sworn he will war against Amalek in every generation. What do we learn? Man, God is awesome, amazing. His ways are mighty and real. The enemy is real. He's always going to seek to war against God and his people, and that means you. And that's why this is so important. God is so great. He holds the mystery to it all. And it's not only that every event had to be right in place of world news, but you know what else had to be right in place? Every event in your life, God had to be working everything together because everything touches everything else. So the last years, every part in your life is part of this story. Because if one thing's out of place, the whole thing goes out of place. So it means that God, no matter what it looks like, God has everything perfectly in his hands. God is king no matter what. In other words, he's got the whole world in his hands. Got the whole wide world in his hands. Got you and me, brother, in his hands. He's got you and me, sister. He's got you and me, babies, in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. Secondly, lastly, you've got an enemy. He rages against you as the enemies of Israel rage against her. Pharaoh raged against Israel. Amalek, Haman raged, Antiochus raged, the Tsars raged, Caesar's raged, Hitler raged, the Soviet Union raged, but Pharaoh was wiped away. Amalek was blotted out. Haman was hung. Rome is no more. Hitler's gone. The Soviet Union crumbled, but the children of Israel live. The nation of Israel lives, and because the God of Israel lives. Saddam Hussein raged against Israel, threatened to destroy it, flaming missiles, but Saddam Hussein was overturned, gone the way of Haman by the hand of the Almighty. But the children of Israel still live. Osama bin Laden threatens to destroy Israel and America. Hamas threatens to destroy Israel. Hezbollah threatens. Mahmoud in Iran threatens with all the power of Iran and nuclear weapons, threatens to destroy it. But Osama bin Laden will not. Hamas will not. Hezbollah will not. And all the nuclear powers of the world will not, because the hand of God is stronger. And it may delay for a time, but not for long. The hand of God is powerful and will war against your enemies. The enemy wants to destroy you. He threatens to destroy you with problems and with opposition and discouragement and sin and snares and fear and all that he could do to destroy you. Because you belong to God. But Pharaoh couldn't do it. Amalek couldn't do it. Nero couldn't do it. Hussein couldn't do it. Bin Laden can't do it. Ahmed cannot do it, because all the powers of hell cannot do it. All the powers of darkness and all the weapons of the enemy put together cannot come against the hand of God. You stand with God, that's the power of his might. He who keeps Israel will not slumber nor sleep. He who keeps you will not slumber nor sleep. Satan won't do it. Angels won't do it. Principalities won't do it. Nothing will separate you from the love of God. For you are more than conquerors in Messiah Yeshua, who is the name above every name. Stand firm, be strong, for greater, much greater is him who is in you than he who is in the world. Happy Purim.